All right, this is exciting. This is a little bit new. So welcome everyone. This is going to be a fun recording, little bit on how to succeed. How to succeed in cybersecurity sales. Awesome. I'm really excited about this. It's also the first time I'm using this. I've used Vidyard, Loom a few different times. I did not know that Canva has a recording function like this. So I am testing this out, and we will see how it turns out. Okay. So I create a little bit of a PowerPoint just for fun stuff to kind of follow along. And this is going to be training on a little bit of everything on how to succeed in cybersecurity sales. If Let me tell you guys a little bit about myself in case you don't know. So I am Ryan Crandall. I am the owner of resume2offer.com. Basically, it's kind of a consulting website. It gives you free resume templates, scripts. You can look at some of our courses, resources, book one-on-ones. But I have been an SDR and an AE in cybersecurity sales. I've been an SDR also in tech sales in a different kind of sub industry. I've also been a hiring manager. So I've hired hundreds of sales professionals. I've been a head of talent in cybersecurity for about 4 years. I've been in the talent acquisition space for about 12 to 13 years now. So a little bit of kind of like that's my background. I've been in different staffing agencies, both abroad and in the US. I've also been an internal hiring manager and a talent consultant for big companies, not just in tech, but in healthcare and legal and a few other ones as well. So that's kind of a little bit about my background. I've done over 10,000 interviews, guys. I do interviews every single day. That is kind of my life. I've also seen over 100,000 resumes. So that's kind of a little bit my background. Let's kind of talk about some of the fun stuff. So number one, is cybersecurity sales a good career? Well, yeah, basically, it's a really good career. Tech sales by itself, over the last 5 years, 5 to 10 years. If you looked at 5 years ago, tech sales was kind of the new thing on the block, and especially because of COVID, a lot of people have kind of found out actually how much money you can make, what kind of career aspirations you can do, the career trajectory. If you look at 10 years, tech sales was never tech sales, it was just sales. And it's kind of morphed into this other industry. And then within the tech sales umbrella, then you look at cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is a growing area. There's a few industries that are growing within tech currently. Logistics is one. If you look at Samsara, Fleet.io, those are some big ones. And there's a few other ones I can list. Cybersecurity is one of them. So cybersecurity, it'll grow 32% in the next year. That's a 10 to 12% on average per year that we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years. It's pretty awesome. Right now, it's a $185 billion market. It's going to pretty much double in the next 4 years. Something to kind of think about. If that's the amount of revenue that can be generated, obviously, as a sales professional, you get a commission, you get a percentage based on the revenue that you're able to generate. Right now, with entry level, we see about 88,000, kind of like a total OTE on average, and that's for an entry level person who has no college background or anything like that, and no sales experience. That's what they're able to do. I would say that I talk to a lot of SDRs and account executives and people in this area pretty much every day. The average OTE that I've seen for an SDR, like on average, is 123. You're looking at 95 at the low end, 123 and kind of like really in the average space that I see, 150 in the higher end. Okay. For an average for cyber sales, for an OTE of an SDR, it's that much more. It's usually like 25K more than what everybody else is paying in tech sales. So as a entry level SDR, you can make more money. It's a growing industry. You can really you kind of master this area. You can kind of go into sales in any other area is what I think. And then if you decide to go to become an account executive, and usually it happens with like SDR, and there might be some. Every company is a slightly different. There's some people that like start off as BDR or inside sales, then SDR, then maybe a lead salesperson, and then maybe account executive. Account executive is like the big target everybody's going to because it means you're not doing as much you're not doing as much, I should say, lead generation or cold calling as you once did. You're doing full demos. You're really talking to executives. Your closing ratio, you're having an easier time closing the sale, and you make more money. So it's kind of an easy target for a lot of people. I've seen people get to AE in 1 year, 2 years is kind of the average. I would say for, just to give yourself some leeway, 3 to 5 years is pretty good. For 3 to 5 window, people as an account executive are making $312,000 a year OTE. That is some serious money that, hey, it can really create a life for yourself, for your family, for your future. So something to consider. So yes, I would say cyber sales is a pretty good career. What are some of the basics? To get into cybersecurity sales, you need to know the basics of sales. You need to know the basics of tech, but you need to know the sub industry of cybersecurity itself. You need to know the different areas. Some of the things include cyber threats. Okay, so the most common, what are some of the cyber threats that people face? And this is going to really, you need to do the research on maybe some of the companies that you're targeting. Are they B2C? Are they B2B? Are they B2G, which was an area that I worked in? What do those mean? If you don't know what that means, and this is your first time hearing that, it means business to consumer. That means your business is going for the average kind of person in the marketplace. B2B is business to business. It means you kind of talk to other companies. This is the most common in tech sales. Or B2G. B2G is actually business to government. Okay, so government contracting. The company I work for cybersecurity was B2B and B2G. We didn't do so much B2C stuff, but B2B is kind of the most common thing that you can look at. So you have to know about certain cyber threats. Okay, we talk about malware, phishing, ransomware, DDoS, volumetric attacks. Okay, protocol attacks. You need to know what these things mean. So when you're getting into the space, and if you're serious, I would recommend starting your own little encyclopedia and memorizing it, and like old school way of like create index cards, write the definition, kind of like drill yourself on what these terms mean, because you're going to need to know this vocabulary for when you're in the interview. Okay, so cyber threats, you're going to want to definitely know about that. I would say that the most common in this space is ransomware. Ransomware is where, how do I describe this? Ransomware is basically a outside company will come in and they'll use like Trojan horse tactics or other type of ways of attacking and get your IP or basically freeze your accounts, or they can also look at your client database and your customer database or your candidate database and basically hold it for ransom. You're not getting it until you pay us. They literally hold it for ransom. When one of our biggest clients, it was kind of funny because my first client was actually a guy I knew from pickleball, and he was the CFO of the company. They were a shipping company, and they were like kind of small business. They had about 50 people, and all of a sudden they got attacked by ransomware. Yeah, and so this company reached out to them. They held all their assets, all their IP hostage, and they're basically like, "Hey, unless you pay us like it was like $2 to $3 million, then you're not going to get this back." And this is kind of a common thing. The most companies that get attacked from ransomware are small, medium-sized business. It's not enterprise. It's not. You'd think they would be like Amazon or Microsoft. No, because they have a lot of big cybersecurity protocols. The ones that are small business, they don't. And they're easy targets for a lot of ransomware, which is why if I was in cybersecurity sales, I'd be looking at also, are you focusing on those mid-sized companies? Because that's where I think a huge market is. Anyway, so you need to understand about cyber threats. You need to understand about security layers, okay? Network security, endpoint security, cloud security, how that works. You need to understand about risk management framework, okay? RPF. You need to know also about compliance. This is a big one in cybersecurity. Compliance requirements, both on the industry and the company standards, okay? So the industry that you're in cybersecurity, but also the industry that your clients are in. You need to definitely understand those compliance. There's different things you can research: GDPR, HIPAA, NIST. NIST is one of the most common ones. NIST is a compliance protocol that companies have to follow. In the government contracting space, this is huge. ISO is huge. One of the things that just came out in the last couple of years is called CMMC, Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. This is for a lot of, I'm not sure if it's business to business. I think it's just government, but a lot of government contractors have to make sure that they have a certain standard. They have to have the highest standards in cybersecurity so they don't get infiltrated by either a foreign or domestic organization that's going to do ransomware. So, for example, let's say a company is getting hired from the government to upgrade the battleships, okay, with cybersecurity. That cybersecurity company or that company has to make sure that they have the CMMC certification. It means that they have been checked, that all of their protocols are of the highest caliber. So there's no risk that they'll get infected or infect others. Okay, so it's kind of a certification. That's kind of how that works in compliance. You've been audited by a cybersecurity company and you've been given a green light saying that, you know what, they have all the right protocols, they have all the right processes in place to make sure that they are a very safe, trustworthy, and they have all the right defense layers in their organization. Okay, that's kind of what that means. So that's compliance, and there's different compliance certifications out there. Let's get into cyber sales. What are some of the cyber sales? You have to speak. Cyber sales, what I would recommend is consultative selling. You are a consultant, you're talking to other companies that need cybersecurity. You need to be able to speak the language of risk management. So I would definitely do some research on risk management framework. It's a huge thing I would look into. And you also have to start looking at risk-based selling. It's a little bit kind of like insurance selling in a lot of ways. Like, hey, if you don't do this, like here's our cost. Let's say you hire us for cybersecurity. Here's our monthly model. Here's our yearly subscription model. But here's the cost it's going to be. But if you don't do this, here's some potential scenarios that could happen to you. This could happen to you. And the cost of ransomware is between $2 to $3 million. You can either pay for us as a cybersecurity company for like $50,000 a year or 25, depends on the size of the company. Or it could not happen. And the ransomware on average is between, $2 to $3 million. Okay. So it's kind of like a little bit like insurance selling in a lot of ways. You have to also be aware of the sales tools. These are very things that you need to be aware of before you need to at least have the basics down before your interview. If you don't, I guarantee it's going to be really tough, and you have to definitely stand out in the marketplace. So different sales tools on the market. And by the way, I made a video earlier, I think it was last week, all about cybersecurity certifications if you're getting into sales. Okay, so sales tools, you want to make sure that you have a CRM, you have some experience. Top two CRMs right now in the industry are Salesforce and HubSpot. There's other ones I've used. Close is a common one. There's a bunch of different ones, but you want to make sure you've had some experience with the CRM. If you need some experience with LinkedIn Sales Navigator, okay, this is a way that the most common tool that B2B businesses currently use. So you want to make sure that you have some experience with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Email marketing is a plus. If you ever use MailChimp or Aweber or Yesware, very good to have. Other lead generation tools, especially like lead generation X-ray tools, things like ZoomInfo, Seamless, Hunter.io, SalesLoft, Apollo.io. Any one of them are okay, cool. But ideally on your resume, you have kind of one of each. More is better, but one of each is very ideal for just standing out from the big pile of resumes that they get. I've talked about this a little bit. Definitely check out the other video I made on cybersecurity sales certifications. The number one certification you want to have is Security Plus. Okay, Security Plus. When we were hiring, I looked at hundreds of resumes, if not thousands, of potential salespeople. The people we chose were those that had Security Plus certification. It's the easiest in cybersecurity to get. It's multiple choice. By the way, when you're doing this, it can also be in progress. You don't have to finish the exam before you start applying to jobs. It can be in progress on that time. Just make sure we're okay on timing and everything. Sales strategies. Okay. So number one, you need to know sales methodologies. You can do some research. The most common one are spin and band. These are used in small and medium-sized businesses. The other ones are MEDDIC. MEDDIC is used more on the enterprise level, and there's other ones out there too. Challenger's another one. There's a bunch of different ones. NEPQ is kind of the one that's been made popular by Jeremy Miner from Seventh Level. He's got some great stuff. He's got a course and everything. That one is becoming a big hot trend right now that a lot of new tech companies are beginning to utilize. Usually, a lot of sales companies will use a combination of sales methodologies. They'll kind of take a little bit from this one, a little bit from that one, test them in the marketplace, and find the ones that work best. So that's kind of how that works. On your resume, ideally, you want one or two of these. So food for thought. Sales strategies. Okay. I don't know how much time we have, but you need to research pretty much all these different things. Okay. Some of the things these are things that you want to make sure you can demonstrate, you utilize in your interview, and you utilize in your mock sales call. Okay. You need to know, let's say you're trying to sell, you get, three companies I know that are hiring right now: CrowdStrike, Rapid7, and Beyond Trust. Okay. Rapid7, let's say you get into an interview with Rapid7. You have to definitely find out what makes them unique above everything else. What makes them unique to their competition? So you got to find out, what are the unique selling points? What are the unique benefits that their product offers? You need to understand what their usual customers. What are their pain points? What are the things that they are always looking to change? What are the reasons why they're contacting you guys as a potential client? You need to understand the buyer's journey. You need to understand from the moment you call them to the demo, to the close, to having them onboarded as a client. How does that look like from beginning to end? What is the buyer journey? A great example of this, I love to watch like cooking shows, and me and my wife love to watch Kitchen Nightmares. If you watch Kitchen Nightmares, the first thing he does when he's examining a restaurant is go in as a customer at their lunchtime. Okay. He sees from the person going to the customer journey. He looks at exactly the customer journey. What's it like for first impressions? What's it like looking at the menu, ordering? What does it taste like? Right. That's the first thing he does. So something to kind of consider is look at the buyer's journey or the customer's journey from start to end. You need to understand, you got to be able to do a 30-second elevator pitch. And I would have this prepared before your first interview with the company. You need to have the ability to overcome objections. There's always 5 to 8 standard objections that is like with every company. So definitely do your research during, especially the mock sales call. You need to be able to overcome those objections. One of the things they're going to ask is probably like 2 to 3, I'd say. And they're going to look at, how do you react? How are you going to handle pressure? Something they look at. Closing techniques. It's always good to have 1 or 2 closing techniques. Okay. If you ever heard of the Ben Franklin technique, you can research that. If you ever heard of scale of 1 to 10 technique, there's the old school car, used car method. Hey, which one would you like? Would you like the red or orange? Right. He didn't say, would you like one? Yes or no. It was would you like A or B? Right. So those are closing techniques. And it's always good to have at least 2 that you've memorized, that you feel comfortable with, that you've drilled into your system. Okay. You also want some soft skills. You want, the ability to do some storytelling, communication, public speaking, negotiation, persuasion. Analytical techniques or qualitative awareness techniques, very much sought after. Okay. So this is just a rough outline on some of the things on becoming just great at cybersecurity sales. All right. Where are we at? Resources. Okay. There's different resources out there. I'm a big believer in reading. Read. Readers are always leaders. And funny enough, if you look at the executives for a lot of different companies, it's one of the things they look for. They look for actually what you've read. And one of the common interview questions more at the executive stage, what books are you into? So something to consider. Anyway, some books that I would recommend. Okay. Psychology of Selling. This was either the book or the audio. You can get Audible. It's Brian Tracy. It's one of my favorite ones. This was probably when I started sales specifically. This was one of my the first ones. It's huge. New Age of Selling by Jeremy Miner. Seven Habits of Highly Effective People is one of my favorite books of all time. I would say that this is one of the, if not the first book that really got me into personal development. And there's a whole other story behind it, but I read this book at least once a year. It's one of my favorite books. It really transformed my life. Other sales books: How to Have Power and Confidence in Dealing with People, How to Design Your Career Life, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success Through Selling by Frank Becker. Great book to have. These are all really, really, really good books to have, as well as on your resume. It's good to list maybe one or two of these books on your resume. A little kind of extra tip there. Look at sales conferences. Look at different conferences in your area. Look at cybersecurity conferences in your area for networking. Look at personal development. You can't go wrong. Global Information Network, Tony Robbins events. There's a whole host. But you want to make sure you're always looking at these types of conferences. Your network is your net worth. Okay. Last but not least, Your Wish is Your Command. This is an audio series. Seven Habits of Highly Effective People was probably the first book that I was like, this really changed everything. Your Wish is Your Command is probably the second. Very, very, very powerful audio series. It's about 14 lessons. They go into some basics, but then they talk about the brain frequency and how to manifest the reality that you want. I listened to this 12 years ago. I still listen to it. It's really transformed my life. If you'd like to get a copy, you can reach out to me or check in our description below on how you can get it. Strongly recommended, okay? That's just kind of personal development in general. Other resources. You can check out my website, resume2offer.com. Oh, there's a 30. That means I got a meeting in 10 minutes. You can check out my website, resume2offer.com, for extra templates, other resources, blog posts, videos. You can also book a one-on-one with me. Definitely recommend you do so if you want to take your career to the next level. I would check out Higher Levels. Higher Levels is a tech sales boot camp. They also have what's called their SDR Accelerator. It's made from the top SDRs and AEs. Basically, we've had people go through that where they become then the top 5% or 10% SDRs in their companies. Strongly recommend. If you watch this week, there is a Black Friday kind of special kind of going on. But if you use the link in my description below, that will give you a free one-on-one with me, something that you can use for your resume or your interview skills, or the third one that I see people get tripped up on is the mock sales call. And I can help you kind of identify those things and break it down and get you better. Okay. Anyway, that's a little bit about that. Feel free to reach out. If you need some free advice, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. If you want me to give you a free resume audit, feel free to send it over through LinkedIn or my website, and I'll give you a few tips. Okay. And that one's on the house. So hope everyone's doing well. It is 2 days is Thanksgiving. 2 days is Thanksgiving. Hope everyone's doing well. I got family in town, which is really awesome. We're going to have a great old school white Christmas here and Thanksgiving. So feel free to reach out with anything, and hope you guys are doing well. Cheers. Oh, I forgot to do the thank you page. Oh, yeah, and the thank you page. Here's the thank you page. And just I've had a few different people who have gotten jobs. I've got how people get jobs in just sales overall, but also as new SDRs in cybersecurity, new AEs in cybersecurity. So I had a few testimonials that I put out there. Anyway, that's my phone number for texting, my email address, where I'm located. If you're ever in the Bend, Oregon area, hit me up. Love to have coffee at one point. Okay. All right, guys. Hope that was resourceful and insightful, and hope you guys are doing well. Cheers.